Hello everyone, back again with movie and tune recap. Today, I'm going to explain an American supernatural horror film from 2026, titled Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. The film opens in Aswan, Egypt, where a family of 5 is returning home after grocery shopping, singing happily along the way. Upon arriving home, their daughter, Layla, is horrified to discover her pet canary lying in a puddle of blood. Their mother instructs the children to stay where they are before she and her husband head down to the cellar, which is revealed to have been built over a buried black pyramid. Inside the cellar rests a black basalt sarcophagus containing a mummified human figure. The husband, Gamal, asks his wife if it has awakened, and he is relieved when she says no. However, the creature suddenly lets out a terrifying shriek as it awakens, and the father is killed by a supernatural force. The scene then shifts to the Cronin family, who are living in Cairo. While the mother, Larissa, works as a nurse, the father, Charlie, is a TV reporter covering stories around the area. During a phone call with a friend, Charlie learns that he has received a job offer that would require the family to relocate to New York City. The couple have 2 children, Katie and Sebastian, with a 3rd child on the way, as Larissa is pregnant. After Sebastian throws Katie's doll off the roof, the 2 children get into a scuffle before Charlie and Larissa step in to break up the fight. Katie then goes outside to play in the backyard, where she is suddenly called over to a nearby fence by a woman known as the magician. Since Katie is friends with Layla, the magician introduces herself as Layla's mother and offers Katie some candy. She also gives her a nectarine, and after chanting a spell over it, a bug emerges from the fruit and crawls into Katie's mouth, causing her to gag and collapse. Back inside the house, Charlie discovers a pile of candy wrappers stuffed inside Katie's dollhouse. When he questions Sebastian about them, Sebastian explains that a woman Katie speaks to through the fence has been giving them the candy. Charlie immediately goes outside to ask Katie about the woman, only to discover that she is gone and part of the metal fence has been bent open. Panicked, Charlie runs through the nearby streets asking passers-by if they have seen his daughter, until he spots the woman hurrying away with Katie in her arms. He chases after them, but a powerful sandstorm suddenly sweeps through the city, causing him to lose sight of them. At the Zamalek Police Department, the parents report Katie's kidnapping to the local authorities. The lead detective, Ismail, calls on another officer named Dahlia to translate the parents' statements. Charlie overhears Ismail telling Dahlia in Egyptian that he suspects the parents may have been involved in Katie's disappearance and are attempting to cover it up. Furious, Charlie angrily denies the accusation and demands that the police help find his daughter. 8 years later, the Cronins are now living in Albuquerque with their teenage son Sebastian, their youngest daughter Maud, and Larissa's mother, Carmen. Although Katie is still missing, Charlie and Larissa have preserved her bedroom exactly as it was, forcing Sebastian to share his room with Maud. The family has avoided traveling ever since Katie disappeared, and Sebastian has grown frustrated with his parents' inability to openly discuss what happened. Meanwhile, somewhere in Egypt, a teenage boy is repairing his bicycle when he notices a plane crashing in the woods nearby. As he explores the wreckage and witnesses the horrifying deaths of the pilots, he discovers a sarcophagus among the debris. Believing it to be a stolen antiquity, the coffin is sent to a team of archaeologists for examination. However, when they open it, they are shocked to find a mummified woman inside. Their horror intensifies when the figure suddenly opens its mouth and begins shrieking and thrashing violently. At the same time, while the Cronins are out getting food, Charlie and Larissa receive a phone call from the U.S. Embassy in Cairo informing them that Katie has finally been found. When the Cronins go to see Katie at the hospital, the doctor informs them that she is severely emaciated and suffering from deep psychological trauma. Although her vital signs are stable, her body frequently spasms, and she appears capable of communicating only through guttural sounds. Despite her condition, Charlie and Larissa are overwhelmed with relief that they are finally able to bring their daughter home. Meanwhile, Dahlia meets with Katie's parents and shows them a photograph of the sarcophagus in which Katie was allegedly being illegally transported out of the country before the airplane crash. She explains that she is determined to uncover the truth about what happened to Katie, and Charlie insists that she follow through on that promise. According to the doctors, being reunited with her family may help Katie recover, so she is taken back to New Mexico, where Carmen, Maud, and Sebastian are all waiting to see her after years of believing she was gone. However, the reunion quickly takes a disturbing turn. During a prayer led by Carmen, Katie suddenly headbutts the elderly woman and begins convulsing violently, forcing Larissa to sedate her. Later that night, Sebastian and Maud remain shaken by Katie's behavior. While Larissa spends time caring for her daughter, Charlie searches for clues about what may have happened to Katie during the years she was missing. He attempts to identify the meaning of the ancient symbols written on a parchment cloth that Katie had been wrapped in, but his search yields no useful results. Later, Sebastian and Maud are awakened by strange noises coming from the walls. At the same time, Larissa and Charlie discover that Katie is missing from her room and begin searching for her. They go to Sebastian's room, where they check inside the walls and find Katie running through them. Larissa and Charlie chase after her around the walls of the house, but eventually lose sight of her. However, they later find her eating a live scorpion, which horrifies them, and the couple manages to pull the scorpion out of her mouth. Naturally, Sebastian and Maud are disturbed by the sight of their older sister, though their father warns them not to speak about Katie until she gets better. The children are also unsettled by a pack of coyotes that howl in the evening while roaming around the perimeter of the house. After dropping the children off at school, Charlie returns home and locks the door leading to the walls in Katie's room. To his shock, he discovers a corrosive bile under a rug in her room. Meanwhile, while Carmen is dressing Katie's hair, Larissa is clipping her long toenails. However, when Larissa attempts to clip Katie's big toe, a large strip of skin extending up her leg tears off. While examining the strange substance, Charlie hears a commotion downstairs, and Larissa tells him to find Katie, as she has attacked them and run away. Charlie goes in search of Katie, and following her bloody handprints, finds her stabbing herself in an open wound. She is later sedated, and Larissa helps treat and bandage the injury. Due to Katie's erratic behavior, Charlie suggests that they find another place for her to stay, but Larissa takes offense at his words. The two argue over what to do with Katie, as Larissa believes she can help her daughter recover, while Charlie is convinced that something is seriously wrong with her and demands answers. Although Larissa claims that Charlie blames himself for the situation, he responds by making her feel worse, questioning how she spent so much time at home without noticing the woman Katie had been speaking to through the backyard fence. Later, while examining the area where the commotion occurred, Charlie notices strips of peeled skin covered with bindings and layers of writings containing ancient scriptures. After taking pictures of the inscriptions, he consults an archaeology professor, who explains that the writings resemble one of the earliest cursive scripts from ancient Egypt. The professor tells Charlie that he will need more time to properly translate them. That night, while spending time with Katie in her bedroom, Charlie hears her clicking her teeth together. He soon realizes that she is trying to communicate with him through Morse code, a skill she learned in the Girl Scouts. Using an old decoder from her childhood, he discovers that she is spelling out the name Layla. Meanwhile, after returning from the bathroom, Maud hears Katie singing in her room. When she calls out to her, Katie begins speaking, but it soon becomes clear that it is the demon inside her talking. As Katie starts frightening Maud, she tries to run away, but a supernatural force lifts her into the air while the possessed Katie chants strange words. At the same time, Charlie contacts Dahlia about his discovery, but she explains that Layla is a very common name in Egypt and that she needs more information. She asks whether the kidnapper may have ever sent the family any correspondence. Charlie then goes to the basement and opens a large trunk containing numerous sympathy cards sent after Katie went missing. One card, which has an Egyptian return address, contains a handwritten message and a drawing of a candy wrapper similar to the wrappers Katie had been hiding. The message is signed by Layla Khalil, the girl Katie had mentioned in Cairo. After searching through records, Dahlia discovers that the name belongs to a woman whose family owns a nectarine farm. This immediately reminds her that a nectarine had been collected as evidence at the crime scene. Meanwhile, the professor is able to translate the writings found on Katie's skin and informs Charlie of their meaning. Through a recording from an international lecture on ancient Egyptian demonology, he explains that the inscriptions are connected to Nazmaranian, an ancient demon believed to destroy families and entire communities. According to the lecture, the demon is kept under control through ritual mummification, in which protective scriptures are embedded into the skin. As the writings are removed, Nazmaranian grows stronger. AMD The professor also explains that the markings on Katie's body are actually words of protection. At school, Maud, now affected by Nazmaranian's curse, suddenly lashes out and curses her teacher, while at home, Katie is seen smiling ominously. Meanwhile, Dahlia travels to the farm connected to Layla Khalil, only to find it abandoned, and nearby signs warn people not to flood the valley area. After entering the house, she discovers a secret passage beneath it that leads to pyramidal ruins. Inside, she finds evidence suggesting that a large coffin had once been stored there, and at that moment, a woman known as the magician returns home. Back upstairs, Dahlia realizes someone has arrived, and when she demands that the person reveal themselves, the magician suddenly charges at her with a knife, forcing Dahlia to shoot her in self-defense. Dahlia then spots another woman and immediately gives chase, ordering her to stop, but the woman continues running. The pursuit ends at the edge of a cliff, where the woman is frantically digging in the dirt. After Dahlia threatens to shoot, the woman finally surrenders and hands over a metal tin, and inside, Dahlia discovers a VHS tape labeled with Katie's name. At home, Carmen attempts to pray over Katie, but the possessed girls suddenly bite her hand and prevents her from leaving the room. At the same time, Charlie and Sebastian go to pick up Maud from school following her rude behavior toward a teacher. Meanwhile, the possessed Katie continues tormenting Carmen. She causes Carmen's cross necklace to tighten around her neck before violently throwing her out of the window. Carmen lands on Charlie's car just as he arrives home, while Maud watches and laughs. Charlie attempts to help Carmen, but a pack of coyotes suddenly appears and attacks the still-living woman as the family watches in horror. Back at headquarters, Dahlia watches the VHS tape and sees the magician, the same woman shown at the beginning of the movie, speaking about Nazmaranian before carrying out a ritual. Dahlia then attempts to question the surviving woman, only to discover that her tongue has been cut out by her mother, the magician, and it is then revealed that the woman is Layla. Despite being unable to speak, Layla communicates that this punishment happened after she previously tried to tell someone the truth. She then writes a confession explaining to Dahlia what happened to Katie and the actions her family had been carrying out. Following Carmen's death, additional locks are placed on Katie's door while a wake is held in the house in her honor. As Charlie comforts Larissa over her mother's death, Larissa tells him that she no longer wants Katie in the house. While standing guard outside Katie's room, Sebastian begins hearing Katie speak to him, tormenting him and blaming him for Carmen's death. Meanwhile, Maud rips out the rest of her baby teeth before taking Carmen's dentures and flashing a bloody smile at her parents. At the same time, Katie uses the corrosive bile she has been secreting beneath the rug in her room to rip up the floorboards and enter the area where the wake is taking place. Together, she and Maud create chaos, with Maud attacking the preacher and biting off his ear. Katie then jumps into the casket, causing Carmen's body to spill out in front of a horrified Larissa. She proceeds to bite into Carmen's neck and drink the embalming fluid, leaving everyone in shock. Later that night, while Charlie watches over Katie, Larissa begins packing their belongings to leave the house. At the same time, Sebastian is seen repeatedly bashing his head, seemingly under the control of the Nazarene. Unable to reach Charlie by phone, Dahlia arrives at the house with the recovered VHS tape. The tape reveals Layla's mother explaining how their family has carried out the ritual 82 times over the years. They discovered that using a younger host allows the demon to survive longer in the host's body before needing a new vessel. Katie's parents watch the footage in horror as their daughter pleads and begs to be released, while the woman and the others in the room continue chanting an incantation. Suddenly, a stream of dark bile passes from the mouth of an old man lying in a coffin into Katie, after which she falls silent. The video then shows the family wrapping her in special bindings before sealing her inside the coffin. Dahlia further explains that Layla told her brothers were transporting the coffin because the valley was about to be flooded. She also reveals that the bindings and the sealed coffin were the only things preventing the demon, the Nazarene, from escaping. Upstairs, Katie uses the hypnotized Sebastian to remove more of the bindings from her skin, allowing the Nazarene to unleash its full power. As a sandstorm rages outside the house, Larissa and Dahlia rush to Katie's room, while Carmen's corpse suddenly comes back to life, now possessed. Charlie encounters the possessed woman, who begins taunting him, but he runs upstairs after hearing the commotion from Katie's room. Katie attacks him, while Dahlia and Larissa try to help, but she overpowers them both. Larissa rushes to get the sedative, only to be confronted by the possessed Sebastian, who attacks her with a baseball bat. She crashes into the walls as Sebastian continues chasing her. Meanwhile, Dahlia is attacked by Carmen's possessed body, which forces a scorpion down her throat. Dahlia manages to kick the possessed Carmen away, but the scorpion inside punctures her throat from within. Despite her injury, she survives and manages to remove the scorpion, while Larissa successfully sedates the possessed Sebastian, who has been chasing her through the walls. The possessed Katie continues to taunt Charlie, telling him he will never get his daughter back. Dahlia eventually makes it upstairs, and as she enters the room and looks at Charlie, his expression reveals what he intends to do, and she understands. Charlie manages to subdue Katie, and holding several fingers over her punctured throat, Dahlia begins speaking the incantation she heard on the tape. As shown in the recording, a torrent of black substance is drawn out of Katie's mouth and transferred into Charlie. Once the process is complete, the supernatural activity in the house ceases, and Katie regains consciousness and speaks to her mother. A later scene shows Katie gradually recovering, while Charlie has been locked inside the chest that previously contained the sympathy letters. Katie has fully recovered and is seen playing with her siblings and communicating with Charlie through the chest using Morse code. However, Larissa feels the absence of the family as a whole and contacts Dahlia, who is still recovering, stating that they need to talk about Charlie. Meanwhile, Layla's mother is revealed to have survived the shooting and is now being held in a hospital cell. When a nurse enters, she injects her with a syringe, paralyzing her. It is then revealed that the nurse is Larissa, who tells her she knows the woman recognizes her face and understands whose mother she is. Dahlia then arrives, wheeling in the possessed Charlie, and together, they proceed to reenact the ritual so that the magician may become the Nazarene's permanent host. Okay guys, that's all the recap about Lee Cronin's The Mummy from 2026. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.